This is the build video for the 2000 watt version of our light stand. If you haven't watched the first of the two videos, it's linked here. No, wait, sorry, here. Anywho, let's start with the reflector panels. We want the option to have natural, as well as artificial light in our setup. So we need maximum flexibility for the different light effects. We decided on this setup for its wide range of possible setups that you've seen in the first video. Reflector boards from Savage are a good standard reflector for our purposes. If we needed any other surface, we could just clamp on another one anyway. Since the reflector boards aren't very rigid, we had to sift them up to use them as panels.
We cut the pegboards to size, then sanded them with an orbital sander. Then we spread glue all on the back of the reflector boards. Glue all has a pretty long handling time, so you don't need to hurry. We used wooden boards to firmly press down the critical edges of the panel while the glue dried. You don't want to cover the holes in the pegboard during that time because that would multiply the drying time. We used a stool with some weight on it to press down the center of the pegboard. That worked great. The boards are glued very evenly. Pegboard isn't very stiff, so it requires struts. We cut the struts from plywood because plywood warps less than standard boards.
We use PVC connectors to attach the panels to the light stand. To attach the connectors to the panels, we use T-nuts that are pressed into the struts. T-nuts can also be hammered in by pressing them in with the vise to make sure they're nice and straight.
I used a standard hex nut to press them in flush with the surface of the strut. The cross struts are glued to the pegboard with wood glue. The upper and lower struts are placed symmetrically from the center of the board. The middle strut is placed above the center of the board and closer to the pole of the light stand. That is because, as you can see here, the T-bars of the light stand are not quite as wide as the panels. When the glue has dried, you can install the center strut that connects all three struts. We did that with a combination of wood glue and screws. If you want to rotate the panels to a very different angle, you can always tighten the hose clamps that control the clamping force on the T-bar. That way you can fix the panels in any position. To be able to use the PVC tees as adjustable clamps, they have to be slotted. We did that with the manual run on the CNC mill. That's fast and clean, but you can also use a simple hacksaw. That's what the finished PVC part looks like with a glued-in plug. The hole in the plug is for the screw that we use to bolt the T onto the strut on the board. To work properly, the PVC mounts should be a tight fit on the T-bar. Therefore, it is very hard to install them when the crossbar is mounted on the light stand. It is much easier to first install both panels on the T-bar and then mount the whole assembly on a light stand. We use pieces of silicone sheet to prevent the T-bar from twisting on its clamp. You can also use double-sided mounting tape. most of the time the panels are adjusted at an angle of about 55 degrees. With the middle strut placed higher than the center of the board, a vertical line from the T-bar that supports the panel runs through the center of gravity. That means that the panel is balanced in this 55-degree position and does not require a lot of clamping force to stay in that position. And that makes it easier to fine adjust the angle to the panels depending on where you need the light. On the edges of the reflector panels, we've installed a rubber edge trim. That's not essential, but it looks nice and protects the edges of the panels and the walls that you potentially run against them. That's the last step for the reflector panels. Let's have a look at the lamp fixtures. We are using 4 threaded holes in the sides of the electrical boxes for the lamp holders. Since we didn't want the power cable to exit from the bottom of the box, but towards the pole of the light stand, Gia drilled an additional hole in the sidewall of each box. We used aluminum U-channel to solidly mount the lamp fixtures to the sidebars of the light stand. The first step in the assembly of light fixtures is the installation of the 4 lamp holders. They are simply screwed into the thread holes in the electrical box. The correct position is fixed with the counter nut. Next, you can install a power cable with the proper strain relief. As with all things involving more than 12 volts, you need to make sure that you really know what you're doing when you work on these electrical components with these lamp fixtures. We are friends with safety test engineers, and as you can imagine, we have done many projects under supervision. The clear and orange wire connectors are Wago lever nuts. These things are simply great. Aluminum U-channel that I cut before sits between the cover of the electrical box and the round side of the bar of the light stand. It makes sure that the lamp fixture sits rock solid. The washers under the screws are simple, standard washers that we have bent in the vise to conform to the diameter of the round tube. The last steps in the assembly of the light stand is the installation of the sidebars to the pole. Then, you're ready for enlightenment.
Thank you for joining us.